Good morning. I just wanted to talk a little bit about mental health, changing things gradually, habits, the way a place can affect my mentality. So right now I'm visiting Riverside, California, where my dad is, and it's the last time I stayed here, I was in a really different headspace, very dark mental health spot. And there are moments while I'm here where like the old feelings come back, and it's so trippy to see how when I'm back home on the East Coast, these types of thoughts don't come in the same way, but it's almost like being here gives me this habit. I go back to the old habit of like thinking these specific thoughts. The thoughts can include like stuff people have told me in the past that was negative or that I perceived as negative, and it's just like an excuse to look poorly on myself. And it's pretty amazing, like pretty interesting to see how those thoughts affect my workout. So I did a Peloton workout because obviously my dad has a Peloton because he's the one that was like, you gotta get a Peloton. And so I did a workout, and just seeing how like every time one of those thoughts of negative thoughts about myself comes up, like my desire to push, my feelings about myself, like it really hinders my ability to keep going. And I think that there's like an idea of like, you've got to have the right headspace, mindset in order to succeed. And I do think that mindset has a huge part of like, it's like a huge part of success and reaching your goals and things like that. But I also just like, as a person who has struggled with mental health, like I think that something that has been really helpful for me is knowing that like, even if my head space isn't right, or like if my head doesn't feel like it's screwed on straight, like I am having negative thoughts about myself, it's still okay to keep trying, and like to like kind of not pretend to believe in myself, but to foster the little candle, the little spark inside that does believe in myself, and just like move towards that. So that's what I did today. I was starting to feel a bit strange. It's like it's so funny how the old habits come back. Like before going to sleep, while I've been here, when I wake up, I have this desire to check social media, which is something I don't generally do at first thing in the morning when I'm back home. And doing that just takes me back to all these old places and old people that I loved so much, but were in a different chapter of my life. And when in that chapter of my life, I was just like, my priorities were really different. My values were really different. Like the way I saw myself was really different. The way I valued myself was really different. I think it's very interesting. Like, I don't know if this is just a woman thing or what. I'm guessing maybe not, but just the way that like my looks come into play when I'm traveling or just doing something different, doing something that I feel a little bit more insecure about when I'm not in my comfort zone, I start getting really intense about like how I look and how I think I'm perceived. And so I found myself like at the airport while I was traveling this way, really thinking about my appearance and like really wanting to like be, I don't know, good looking, attractive. Like it felt like it felt like when I'm feeling insecure, if I look good, then I'm like, it gives me some solace. It kind of like reminds me of a little bit of Marilyn Monroe. And when I was in high school, I did this paper on Marilyn Monroe, which I did get a really bad grade on. But the idea around it was like, like the tragedy of like a beautiful person being depressed, basically. And not the tragedy of that, but like the tragedy of Marilyn Monroe, whom everybody kind of like admired and revered as like this beauty icon, but also being depressed, and there being like this kind of like I don't agree with this now, but like this idea of like, if you're beautiful and you're suffering, then there's something kind of romantic or poetic about it. And that is something I think is like a negative, like dark Tumblr, like a twisted way to, it's an unhealthy way for me to think about things. Yeah, things have gotten so much better since I've been in the place where like that's like kind of the way that I think. But yeah, definitely coming back, traveling back to my old stomping grounds kind of brings some of those thoughts back of like, and now I look different than how I looked when I was, you know, in my younger 20s or whatever. And all of a sudden I'm like, you know, it's just, I don't know. I think also there's something about like learning to be more myself and doing less performance that I think that sometimes when I look, it's funny how emotional I get, but like sometimes when I look in the mirror and I don't see this performing person, like the person that I am like sometimes if there's somebody I admire based on their appearance, I will like simulate them, like imitate them, like try to look like them. And then when I look in the mirror and I find myself, I look like I'm successful at portraying myself as this type of person or looking this way, I feel like a satisfaction, or like almost like I'm like conning everybody or like making them believe that I'm a certain type of way. And and the more I like lean into like what feels good for me, what feels true for me, including the way I dress and the way I present myself, it feels a lot more vulnerable to walk throughout the world and like see myself in that way. Sometimes I feel like, wow, I'm freaking awesome, and I feel like really like cool and proud of myself. And other times I feel like different and like uncomfortable and unimpressive. So that's just a thing that kind of happens. It's so interesting, like how much like looks play into my thought process. Like I wouldn't like expect that, like just from traveling or like visiting family or like thinking about old memories. Like it's just so interesting the way that looks come into that. But I also just want to give a little shout out to certain things that took me out of the old depressed headspace that I used to be in. It was very, very dark. Like I would be here and not knowing what to do with myself, where I was going, and I felt like I was just in a very dark place without going into too many details. And I would do yoga with Adriene on YouTube. This was during COVID lockdown, and I would just like do yoga workout after yoga workout. And I had read in The Body Keeps the Score that yoga is helpful with trauma, and I would sometimes like go into position and just cry and just let myself do that. And it was really intense, and I was journaling like crazy and painting and all this stuff, thinking so much and just really, really trapped in my head. And so many things have changed since then. It's been like 4 years or maybe 5 years at this point. But I think the yoga practice really did help. It was kind of this idea, well, Adriene from Yoga with Adriene is somebody that I really admire, and the way that she was able to keep a positive attitude and just be helpful towards others. And she kind of has like same phenotype as me, like brown hair and like pale skin type of person, maybe like vaguely Latina. I was like, man, there's hope, like to have positivity in this world, you know? And so I kind of really clung to that. Doing that has been really helpful, like, because I also know that like yoga is helpful for aging. Like when the older you get, like yoga can continue to be like a really, really helpful thing for mobility. And so it really helps me to like think about my own future and just like feel like it's like putting money in the bank. So what else? So yoga really helped. I had to join a recovery community to get sober, and I started talking to people about how I was feeling and started making momentum and moves towards like actually changing the way that I thought. And that meant like going through the way that I think about the past. And so today I'm actually going to do something where I write down like what I am resentful about, and then why, and then what does it affect. So does it affect my like personal relations, sex relations, etc. And like and then what is my part in it. And so what I'm guessing my part in it is today, like when I think about people from my past and things that people have said in the past that hurt my feelings, I think that my part is like catastrophizing. Like I think that my part is like looking for evidence of like why I'm not good enough. So I'll take a look at that and then do some meditation and speak to my higher power, because that I find very helpful, like in just like remembering there are things out of my control, and that there are things that that like things continue moving with or without me, and things are much bigger than me. So I think that'll be something nice to do today. So yeah, those are some things that like have really helped me. And I just think that the difference between doing my yoga work, my yoga workouts, my yoga practice or whatever back in the day a few years ago, and now doing Peloton is really different, because there's a lot more power like in the Peloton thing. Like I feel that, like I feel like even though it was a challenge to get through the workout today, like I do have strength that I didn't have back then. And so that I find very moving. And so I'm excited for another good day hanging out with my dad and his girlfriend Celine, and eat some good food and just enjoy my time. But I'm really glad I got to reflect today and make a video. Also, just a little update is I'm excited to kind of just start thinking about vlogging in a little bit more serious way. I think I've been really enjoying getting into the habit of making these videos, really loving like talking to this audience. And so I got like a tripod that I can start putting my phone on. I'm not using it right now because it's back in Jersey, and it has a little light. So maybe the lighting will get better. I'm thinking about setting up a little set and maybe coming up with some little outfits to wear while I share and vlog, just so that things look a little more clean and professional. And yeah, I'm really excited about that. I'm hoping to talk more about mental health and just like start moving towards like building a community where it's okay to not be perfect, and it's helpful to have have people to talk to who understand while we continue to move forward. So that's my goal. I'm hoping that by sharing my experience, I can make somebody feel more understood out there, like they're not alone. I feel that YouTube is like such a wonderful resource for that type of stuff. And while the internet is such a reflection of humanity, and like how there's so many things on the internet, and so I feel very nice to have some really positive things on the internet, and so I hope to be one of those people. So I hope you have a good day today, and thank you for watching if you watched, and I'll talk to you next time.